What is good? We're back and ready to roll.
Ooh, terrible crack.
We're getting closer and closer to the draft here, so we're going to take one more run at kind of going over your first round pick values, how to value them. We have some real trades here for your pleasure, of course, from Dynasty Daddy, and I'll reiterate that as we go through here that, you know, some of y'all get real excited about the trades that we have, but these are real trades that really happen. We sift through the closest that look like to what is the most realistic, because you have good trades and bad trades, and we try to find the happy medium position. We're also going to use RADP as we go through these values, so we're going to kind of take you through the 1-1 through the 112, and I think, you know, that's going to go kind of in tiers like you would with rankings, right? You know, the 101 right now is the S tier, and then, you know, you can kind of take the 102 too, and it could slide for some people but to 5 or 6 potentially, kind of right in there. And again, after the draft, maybe that changes a little bit, maybe it gets a little tighter, maybe it gets a little bigger, right? But
for sure, and maybe splits up halfway down the line based on landing spots and capital.
Right. But right now, the 101 is Jeanty, and you know, whether or not you want to use the G word, generational with Jeanty, doesn't matter to me. I don't care. This is a stupid conversation that gets rehashed over and over and over again, and it just really doesn't matter that much. He's a really freaking good player. Will he be good? I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that, but what really matters is that his value right now is set at a generational value. He's already the RB3 in pretty much any Dynasty Startup Flex or Dynasty Startup Draft that you do. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day. That's the value of Ashton Jeanty right now, right? Yeah. So that's, at the end of the day, that's all I'm kind of caring about. You can debate whether you're blue in the face of what prospect and this tape and Mountain West and stat this and stat, doesn't matter. The value is really good. So what I want to reiterate is just don't sell that 101 pick because, well, for whatever reason, you're mad that he's not generational. The general populace has it already marked down as value generation.
Yeah, I like the way you laid it out there, especially we got a couple trades that we'll look at here in a minute that go from like trading from the 1-1 back to the 1-2 or something. If you're one of those guys that, hey, I'm a Hampton guy, and I like Hampton.
Or I need a quarterback. I need Ward.
If you think Cam Ward or Hampton or Travion Henderson is at that level or close enough,
right?
I'm glad you said it the way you said it, because you don't need to be just trading back for peanuts because you think it's close. Like, I don't really think it's probably even this question. Like, I think there's no question about it. Jeanty's going to be good. I think it's just how good, right? Will he live up to these type of expectations? We see the reverberations of the Marvin Harrison Jr. when he doesn't live up to ungodly expectations.
Still like a second-round startup pick, a late second-round startup pick, though. So, like, you know.
Well, you know.
And we didn't see Bijan do it year one necessarily, and still was pretty solid. And then, of course, all the questions come flooding in. It's just like they are with Marv right now, just like they are with Caleb right now, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, and then that value, Bijan is right now, maybe some people have Gibbs, but for the most part, on the unquestioned, at least tier one of running backs right now. Maybe you prefer Gibbs a little bit over him, but I'm sticking with Bijan there.
Sure. And like you said, we'll get some good answers and more information in a couple weeks in the draft. But like, if Jeanty lands in a spot, remember Saquon Barkley's first carry in the NFL was that 40-yard scamper in the preseason. The first time he touched it, he went 40 yards, got around the right side, and just took off, and it was like wheels up. And then, of course, he was awesome, and he had a crazy rookie season. He caught all those passes, and then the wheels fell off for the whole Giants, and he had his time. Like, if Jeanty lands in a spot where he can look halfway the part of what Barkley just landed in free agency going over the Eagles, right? Quarterbacks, obviously, and wide receivers to an extent, where you land, the good players are getting taken by the worst teams for the most part. When you get drafted that high in the draft, a lot of running backs and stuff like that. Of course, the later first round wide receivers and second round wide receivers and stuff like that. There's tons of nice hits out there, but like the best players usually go to the worst organizations, and it's up to them and a little bit of luck if it works out and pans out in a real, positive, like, Drake London, top draft pick, terrible quarterback for a couple years. They were up there because they didn't have a quarterback. Drake London had to live in Desmond Ridder purgatory for 2 years.
Right.
So like
trust the process.
Right. If Penix, if Jeanty goes and lands in the right, if Jeanty lands in Chicago, right, it's the top's gonna blow off of this thing. The second his name is called in a spot that can manifest these fantasy points that we're looking for at a higher level,
right,
than versus going to ABC team, Right. So like when it happens, and Jeanty, if it happens, it's kind of like Brock Bowers last year. Like there's really no bad spots for him to go, but nobody loved the Raiders, so it was either on par or a little bit below.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that, oh my God, he went here spot. If Jeanty gets the oh my God, he went here spot, then it could go even higher than it's already priced in that he went to a great spot. So you can't sell Jeanty for cheap.
Right. Right now, we currently have Jeanty at 208 in startup drafts, RB3. This is probably a few days away from being updated to having 6 to 8 more drafts. I've been in 6 of them at least, and I don't think he's made it past the 204 in any of the most recent 6. So like we're already seeing Jeanty just steadily climb back up. A few picks there, and again, this is variance here. It can go, if you want a couple more receivers in there in between there, or you want to take Caleb Williams or a different quarterback, or whatever.
Right. You asked me months ago if I'd take Nico or Jeanty, and I was like, oh my God, why are you making me answer these questions? And obviously, at this point, it's Jeanty. And that puts it, Nico's ADP is 2.6. Like you said, I don't think Jeanty's going to be lasting to 2.8 in too many drafts.
No, and I think Nico.
But there's so much talent in that top of the middle, back into the first, that the Gibbs and the Bijans and the St. Browns and the CeeDee Lambs. Like you're right in there. You're right in there with a ridiculous asset value already, like you said, before he even takes a snap in the NFL.
Yeah. All right. So here's a few trades for the 101. We got the 101 and. For the 102, the 203, the 204, the round 2 in 2026, and then Jaylen Warren thrown in there, right? At that point, Jaylen Warren is essentially a throwaway.
Right, exactly.
Not that he is, and I think he'll probably have some good value. I think he's a good player. But this is for a one-pick move back.
Sure.
And
it's a lot.
And if you want to argue Hampton could easily outscore. Yeah, I mean, any of those 4 running backs could outscore Jeanty this week, but they're still not valued where Jeanty is.
Yeah,
right now.
This is representative of the you got to pay to play scenario, right? If you're at 102 and the 101 guys like there is nothing you can do to get this pick, then that's where this type of trade comes in, and that's why this one's in this one's on the list to talk about, because on paper it looks like an absolute ton. It looks like a ton. Who knows? 2026. Round 2, random. Yeah, that's a round 2 pick. It's valuable. The 2-3 and the 2-4, that's paying up. And honestly, if you need it, it says start 10 and 12 team league. It's not like it's 14 or 16 team league and it start 14 or something crazy like that where depth is
pretty standard, half PPR, tight end premium.
If I would take the Jeanty side. There's so much doubt, obviously, in the 2-3 and 2-4. Those picks are so much fun, but you're going to have limited windows to actually be the person that has Jeanty on their team.
Right.
So I have no problem doing. I can see it from both sides. That's why a lot of these trades, like you said when we first started, if you just pull up. And if in any league you're in, there's always trades that go down. You're like, can't believe that guy did that. Yeah. So when you pull up Dynasty Daddy and you're looking at the trades, there's tons of trades where like, that's terrible looking. Of course, you see those types of trades in your leagues too.
Right. So you say most likely, unless you're a straight up. I mean, here's the thing. Like even if you're a rebuilder, Jeanty is worth an absurd amount. So really, depending on, it really doesn't matter where you are here. There's not really that many scenarios where you'd be wanting to move down to the 102 for.
I just need more bang for my buck.
3 twos and a Jaylen Warren.
No, exactly. Well, like you, if you got
some
the one
psychiatry in this trade,
right? Exactly. If you take in Jeanty, you're in the good half of the second round. The ADP says 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, but like you're right there with those guys I was talking about. You're with there with Nico Collins, St. Brown, Jeanty. Those high end guys. if you take the 2-3 and the 2-4 rookie picks in the startup, they're going to be way down here in the 7th, 8th, 9th round. So like you're asking me, and the 1-2 is going to be in the 4th or the 5th. So you're asking me to take 2 8th rounder picks in the startup, add it to a 4th to go up to a high 2. Like it's about fair. It's there. I just want the Jeanty side, and that's why it costs so much to do business.
Right, and that's why I think some people are probably listening to this like, what, are you crazy? You're moving back one spot, and Hampton could be just as good as Jeanty, and it's like maybe he could be, but it's just like you said, right now where we're at value wise, like I feel like I think I just want Jeanty on my team, and then once he's on my team, like I could get that, I could
Well, yeah, exactly. If you take the 102 and just put Hampton, obviously Cam Ward, when we see him play on the Titans, he could have, poor man's Jaden Daniels ascension here. But like if you just take 102, putting Hampton's name there, like what you have in Jeanty is a stepping stone to the middle of the first round. Like you could take Jeanty plus and come away with Josh, Allen. Mm-hmm. You're not taking Hampton plus. Like it's
right,
plus
right this minute,
right?
Right,
exactly. Yeah, 3 weeks into the season, if Hampton's got 120 total yards and 2 touchdowns and a couple weeks in a row, yeah, that's going to be spectacular, and it could happen. It could happen with 7 different running backs. A lot more has
to happen with Hampton to increase the value to
like
even
that,
get even
to
with
that level.
To even get even with Jeanty.
Yeah,
for at least in season. And some people are already either clicky or standing for Hampton and saying, oh, he's better than Jeanty. To me, that's clickbait trash right now. Like there's really no reason to be saying that.
Agreed. The next trade is right there close. It just kind of cleans it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. It's same thing. You go from 1-1 to 1-2, but you take all those 2s out of the way and you basically trade it for the 111.
Right.
Same thing. That's still pay to play. Like you really want to make this one pick swap. It's going to cost you the 111. Another player who you really want.
If I'm at 102, I'd love to give you the 111 to get to the 101.
Exactly. Taking the one. I was wondering what you would say. I'm taking the Jeanty side as well.
All right, next one is Brian Thomas, 101. Clean, even Steven.
Nice, clean trade.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's coin flip. What's your preference? Are you a young stud wide receiver guy? Or I want one of the best, 2 or 3 wide running backs in the league, and they help me win championships, guys? Mm-hmm. Because I do like the running backs win championships, and they certainly do. But Brian Thomas coming in and, being a 22-year-old stud, it's hard to walk away from. So to me, that's one of those where hey, you're gonna win and lose that trade each and every week or month of the NFL season. If Brian Thomas starts out hot, you're gonna feel like you lost it if you gave him away. And Jeanty comes on a late season push and he's crushing it, you can feel like you lost it. You can. That's one of those. That's a nice trade. That's a fun trade, and right. I don't really mind which side I'm on. I like them both.
Not really, and you can see here if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that Jeanty's at the 8. And Thomas is at the 203 and startup tight end premium. And like I said, I think Jeanty's probably closer to the 205.
I think he's closer to the 3. I think he's right there
right now because I hadn't seen him past 4 in the last 5 to 6 drafts. So it's right there. It's a pick swap. So I think a lot of people right now would take Thomas because they're sure, or at least they think they're sure of Thomas until you're. A few weeks
if you're a guy like me and
right.
you already got like 3 or 4 dynasty teams with Brian Thomas and you don't have any Jeanty yet, that's an easy differentiator right there.
Yeah. All right, let's pick one more. Is there out of these next 2? Is there one that you like more than the other to talk about?
Just because Jamar Chase's name in there, let's run this one out.
Okay.
You got the 1-1, and you're trying to get Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
So, or you got Jamar Chase and you're trying to trade down and tear down to Jeanty plus. So the trade is Jamar Chase for Jalen Waddle, the 101
and the 108.
And the 108.
Yeah.
That's a good trade. That's a big boy trade right there. That's tearing down from Jamar Chase well, and that's what it takes to pay to go up and get the most dominant receiver in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, to me, I'd like to say I would take Chase, but that's that'll hit you right between the eyes if you really had to make a choice.
Yeah, and I think like you said, it's start 10, full PPR, half point premium. So again, pretty standard to what we deal with day in, day out. Getting paid with the 108, and Waddle's really down right now.
Really down, and he could be really
he's
up.
Been
really
a wide
quick.
receiver 1. So I mean, if if Waddle can get back to anywhere near that, then this trade feels like a pretty good trade. Now, Chase obviously scored 400 and some odd fantasy points last year.
Triple crown winner.
Right.
If he comes back and hits that again, this trade's going to feel bad for another year.
Right. But we've also seen the I mean, obviously Burrow was hurt. And I think, you will see some fluctuation of the top receiver in the league for one reason or another. So I don't know, man. This one I don't
kind of old there at 25.
I don't have
Grizzly.
I don't have a strong lean on this one. I think generally I lean to the Jeanty, the 108, which is potentially, maybe I could get Quinshon Judkins. Maybe I could get Tyler Warren. Maybe I could get,
Sure to say you get a quarterback. It's 2 quarterbacks. You can get Sanders.
I could trade back 2 more picks and get Caleb Johnson. Potentially.
And Jalen Waddle comes back to
Jalen
life.
Waddle.
Yeah, I get it. I liked it to show what it takes to get Jamar Chase.
Yeah. So again, the 1-1 right now is in its own tier, and it takes a big boy trade for me to get anywhere near moving off of it.
Right.
And if you can move up on it for a relative price, then I think we're all in there because I think we all think Jeanty's going to be a very, very good productive player. All right, so here we got the 102. We got Kenny Walker and the 110. So you can already see potentially a decrease here in some value of 101 to 102, and that's kind of what I would expect to see, and I think that's kind of how I view it currently, and I think that's how the public value-wise views it. So would you rather have, whether it's you could say you don't draft for need, you just draft best player available in your rookie draft. I mean,
that's what you should be doing.
That's what you technically should be doing. But who's to say that Cam Ward isn't the second best player? And it's you could say, oh, for sure it's Hampton, but I mean, in 2 years, Cam Ward might be a top 8 quarterback, and then the answer was probably Cam Ward,
right? Especially in Superflex, yeah, definitely.
Right.
Walker's got an ADP of 602. So. You got a 6th round startup player, and then the 110, which is like an 8, like I was talking about, and the 1-2's up there in the 4th-ish round. So, trade value wise, probably a good, nice, easy, clean pick. If you're a Seattle Seahawks, like they're about to run the ball and Kenny Walker's about to crush this year kind of guy, and I'm leaning that direction, I could see it. But at the same time, like you said, I mean, giving up, I don't think many times Cam Ward's going to go the 102.
Right.
But in Superflex, we know how hard it is to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And when Cam Ward takes that field, and if he looks as poised as he does in his highlights for college, all we need to see is a little bit of that poise and a little bit of that step up in the pocket and make a play, then his value is going to shoot up because it's just so hard to find a quarterback.
This would be Kenny Walker and the 110 for me pretty easily if Kenny hadn't had a slew of just injuries that just has taken him down for chunks of seasons, right? Because I think if we're going to just kick it all the way back to prospects, Kenny Walker as a running back prospect, to me, is as good as any of these guys, right? And we've seen it on the field in the NFL to be, when he's right and rolling, I mean, he's fucking so much fun to watch, man.
Sure, definitely.
And so the style of what this offense could be could really feed right into Kenny Walker. I don't like to base things on health too much because we could never see another problem from, but it has been a lot of groin, calf, these things that just linger and keep him back from being as good as he could be.
When you're that twitchy, those ligaments have a hard time holding on.
I like it.
Still 24, just a solid player here. I think I lean the 102 here just to re-roll everything.
Mm-hmm. Just to jump up there in value. I picked this one and the next one because this is from 1-2 all the way to 110 is a pretty steep drop. Like the 1-2, 3, 4, 5, very interchangeable with those running backs. Tyler Warren, Tet, wide receivers, however you want to, very interchangeable type. But go ahead.
If that 110 is guaranteed for me to be Caleb Johnson, then I'll take the Kenny Walker side because I think Caleb Johnson's as good as any of those guys. And that's really the differentiator for me. If I can get Caleb Johnson at the 110 there, then I would take, if you're on the clock, well, you couldn't know that.
Well, how many wide receivers is going to go? Because you got the 5, running backs, you got Tyler Warren, you got a quarterback in Ward, so that's 7. And you just got to count, who you're going to be comfortable with. So
if Golden could go, Tech could go.
So you're at 110, you're guaranteed Sanders, Loveland, and Luther Burden or Golden or like you, cause the 5 running backs, Warren and Cam Ward is 7 players. So you got 3 more, 8, 9, 10. So Colson Loveland. Who else you got there?
Luther Burden,
Sanders,
Travis Hunter,
Hikbuka.
Yeah, Travis Hunter going somewhere like where they're going to say that he's, if he goes to the Browns and they say we're going to full-time wide receiver him, then that helps you get.
Right, he jumps up.
But, does that then make the 1-2 more attractive to saying Travis Hunter's my guy at 102, right?
Yeah, that's another conversation for sure. All right, I like that. The next trade is a little bit, I think, cleaner because you stay in that tier. So you're trading from 1-2 to 1-4. You're going back up from 1-2 to 1-4, and then you move up from 2-11 to 2-1. So I like that trade as a trade down. That's a perfect appreciation piece for trading back 2 spots when you're like, I like Travion.
Yeah, can move up a whole round.
Exactly. You jump from 2-11 up to 2-1 and move up potentially like a couple tiers there in player and get up. And then once you're in 2-1
too,
right? Once you're in at the 2-1 range, all those players we were just throwing around for that 110, like the beauty of this is what we've been preaching for months, man. Like the first round can't even hold all the assets anymore, right? We were just figuring out how you could get
if Hunter gets in there. If Dart's a first round draft pick,
Jackson Dart's about to be a first round draft pick. You got a toolsy quarterback with legs. He's got a rushing upside. Is he going to be able to process? I don't know, but he's going to look good in the highlight film on draft night when he gets taken. So here we go, a Russian quarterback for your pleasure.
Yeah,
and then
Milrose got odds of being back end of the first round. Just as far as the DraftKings odds right now,
and I don't think that shoots him up to the 2-1, but it
certainly puts him in the 2-1 to 2-4 category. Like if Pittsburgh takes him, and you're going, hey, I'm sitting here at 201, I got this.
First round can't even handle it, and it cannot hold the assets anymore.
Right.
It's spilled into the second round.
And if it's tight end premium 1, that means Loveland is for sure going in the first round.
100%.
Right? Now, if Arroyo goes in the first round or Mason Taylor goes in the first round, that might even be another tight end that's coming in at the back end of the first, depending on the landing spot that you might like. So I love it. I love that with the tight end 1 premium. It is even a start 12, so that's a little deeper. I like it. I might get a little greedy, but see if I could, get 4th in there.
Get real greedy real quick.
All right. We got Wicks and the 102 for Drake London. For me, this is a layup. I'm taking Drake London.
Agreed. All right, keep it moving. Taking great Drake London.
All right, let's move on to the 103. Rashi Rice, 103.
Rashi
Rice, right?
Okay, yep. Just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
All right. 103 and the 403 for Bo Nix.
I'm taking Bo Nix.
I initially look at this and I scoff at it. I say, I'm taking the 103 and 4. But
I'm taking Bo Nix. I'm taking Bo Nix. It's Bo Nix.
It's Bo Nix.
He's too good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if he's too good, but the situation and we talked about this the other day. I don't know if the show's out yet or not, but the whole situation. The whole situation is about to improve probably at 2 huge positions. You just got Evan Ingram. You're at least drafting a running back in the first 2 rounds.
Here comes a running back.
And then there's a real good chance that one of those is a running back in the first or second round and the other one's a wide receiver.
For sure.
So everything just improved. Bo Nix has got a rushing floor and he's tied to the best, the match made in heaven that those 2 human beings of schematic play calling for Bo Nix and Sean Payton was and you could have hated him all you want, but we talked about it till we were blue in the face of just how hand and glove fit with the player and the coach, and it's Bo Nix.
Like you said, the lack of tools that he had. He was a rookie, of course. He was an older rookie, and he had played a ton of college ball. But as Jay shows us, his points last year in fantasy, he was a rookie quarterback with no threat in the running back field to help. Even Sean Payton's going to scheme up targets for his running backs, but none of them really showed any life for helping the offense really be no big plays. Like you said, you can be bringing Evan Ingram, and you're definitely bringing in a running back. They have made no questions about it, whether they're bringing in a much improved, exciting type running back. And Bo Nix, his floor is there, and he made really, really good plays last year. And here it goes. You're gonna have a nice little value bump in Bo Nix coming for sure.
Yeah.
Buy Bo Nix on the low. All right, what else we got?
All right, we got the 104. We got a 26 first and a 26 second for Bijan Robinson. That's Bijan.
It's Bijan, and I like the idea. You take your 1-4 and you just grab your picks next year. You bundle them up and you try to take advantage of rookie fever. Oh man, I can get Travion Henderson here.
And I'll have a first and second for next year.
And I'll have two 1s and 2 2s next year. And that's how you get Bijan. I like that. I like the trade.
Love that.
All right, what else we got?
All right, we got the 104 and the 404 for the 202 and the 107. So moving back from the 104 to the 107.
Half tight end premium.
Half tight end premium, and picking up the 202 and moving your 404 all the way up to a 202. This is a layup 107 for me.
I like it. Now, at 104 is on the clock, how those picks fell.
Right.
If you have a boy, like if Travion Henderson is your boy, it gets a lot easier. If Travion Henderson is your boy and he flew off the clock off the board at 1-3, now you're at 1-4 and you're like, I missed my guy. Am I going to pay a little bit to swap places? I was hoping that the 1-3 didn't take Henderson, but I really want him, and now I got to pay a little something to get him, or I'm going to get paid a lot to back up a couple picks. Most of the time, you're going to be happy you backed up.
Right.
If you zeroed in, especially if this like 2 quarterbacks, if Cam Ward's still on the board, if it's Hampton and Henderson and Ward still on the board, at 2 and 3 is Hampton and Henderson, and it's sitting at 104. There's a quarterback there that you really like. If you like, that's hard to pass up. But that's a lot of value to back up those 3 spots to jump up from 404 to 202.
Yeah, no, that is. It is. And I think we kind of started off with saying the 102 to 104, 5, 6, and then that could easily expand into 7. Let's say Hunter goes somewhere and is there, but the sticking point for me was kind of the quarterback there at 104. If that was like a real thing of need, and Cam Ward's still sitting there, because again, maybe you don't need to be drafting out of quote unquote need, but let's not pretend that Cam Ward doesn't, is
in Superflex the need of quarterback it has to move the needle a little bit. And the reason I bring out Henderson is because it's just there's so many fans, there's so many of his fans on Twitter saying that he's, for fantasy, he's maybe RB1 or he's definitely RB2 and he's the GOAT and yada yada.
At 7, I'm still staying in a really good tier there. It's Tet, it's potentially Ward, it's potentially Judkins or Caleb Williams or Caleb Johnson for me. So or Warren, I'm living in a good spot.
And here's
there.
Again, this is the beauty of it. If Henderson doesn't go to a great spot and Judkins goes to a great spot, Henderson's still going to have his people that love him to death no matter what. Right. And I'm going to be on that list too. And then I like Judkins, and Judkins goes over here to Dallas in the second round, and all of a sudden, here we are.
Right.
So this is why we've been preaching this for months and months about the fact that your second round picks are going to be more valuable, and the middle of the first that everybody told you wasn't valuable at all. Here they are. Here it is. It's playing out right here in real time. And after the draft, the 1-7 is going to be more valuable, but depending on where a couple of those players go, the 1-4 might be like a tier break potential of value. Might be the 5, might be the 6. If you're a little bit crazy in the head like I am about this stuff, you could make that trade, and then you could spend that 2-2, and maybe you're back at 1-5, and maybe you've netted a profit. Yeah. Maybe you just had fun and you scratched the itch.
Right.
All right, let's keep moving.
All right. We got 111, 104 for Gibbs and 211. That's an easy Gibbs.
Easy Gibbs. You don't even have to give me the 211. Easy Gibbs. Next.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, and 26 for 104.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the 104 easy. I need with no context. If my team's bad, I don't want to give up all my picks for the 1-4 most likely. If they fell the right way, that could be talked into it. It's half PPR, half tight end premium, something to look at. But if I got a good team, then if I'm like, hey, I'm giving you the 111, the 211, and the 311, I'll do it all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. 111, 104, and Baker for Brian Thomas. I think it's Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas, not even
easy.
Close.
All right, 105, James Cook, straight up.
Man, that's tough. I think when it's all said and done, and everything I just said 2 minutes ago, I think it's going to be the 1-5. But I think if you get caught up in that win now moment, and you're like, James Cook can help me. James Cook was great. James Cook was great last year, and I don't agree that he's about to be replaced in the draft by somebody that's quote unquote better than he is right this second. But
you got a contract situation. It might not be a high pick. It might be a 3rd or 4th rounder that the Bills bring in there,
and might not want to pay. Really write the checks.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who know? You know, Josh Allen's got to be paid like the highest in the league. I'm just trying to think of who else on their team. They don't really have a whole lot of talent on the team. They don't have anybody worth
They
paying.
got a defensive line that has a lot of rotational talent in there.
True. They don't have
Josh
any.
take less?
He did.
He's not trying to get the
He did
most.
just take some less. Yeah.
They
Less is relative, but
still 55 million a year.
He's a sweetheart. He's a saint.
yeah, he's what's up. I think I'm going 105 too, and maybe that's just being biased. Cook had a great year last year
For sure. That's rookie fever, baby.
but
That's rookie fever all day.
That to me is like, all right, if I can, is it Travion? Is it Judkins? Is it Caleb Johnson? And I'm cool
and
with
then
it.
now you just erase 3 years of age off your running back, who you think is as good as James Cook and maybe better, but James Cook RB7 right there, courtesy of Jay Wayne putting it up on the screen for you. Absolutely dominated.
That's still at a good 23.
But
Yeah.
just crushed in the touchdown zone. Like Josh Allen did too. It's like if they get anything more, like James Cooks was scoring from 10 yards out and plus, right? So like you can't. Let's not take that away from him. Let's not take that explosiveness away. He was scoring. It wasn't goal line carries. He was running them in from deep. He was like shooting deep 3-pointers last year.
How many catches did he have?
32, 44 the year before.
Yeah. This system seems to need a running back like James Cook in place to operate at peak capacity, unless they want to kind of switch things up here in another, we'll see what happens in this draft as far as what they target. The answer probably should be James Cook here, but I'm going 105.
Got it.
All right, 105, a Rome Odunze. I'm gonna put this at like Tet versus Rome kind of situation. I'm going Rome.
I like it. I'd take Rome too. I don't have a problem going like 1.5 plus something and try to find my way into the 1.3 zone and really feel all nice and hunky dory about it. But I think that Rome Odunze is about to have a nice little second year here in Chicago with a new everything.
Yeah, I mean he had a pretty good rookie year. He was injured, and they had two great wide receivers plus a running back and a tight end who at times had okay chunks and just a dysfunctional. That's all you need to say. Situation from
after
time
that.
over
After
time.
that Washington game with the Hail Mary thing, you haven't seen many things unravel faster.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
Yeah. So I'm sticking with Rome. I like Rome. I think the prospect of Rome was really good, and I think you saw some good stuff from him last year. Now that he's the 2 in that offense, Ben can dial it up. All right, we got the 105 Trey Benson and a 26 first for Bijan. Easy Bijan. We got Ricky Pearsall and the 106 or Devonta Smith and the 211. That's going to be the 206 or the 106 and Ricky Pearsall for me.
Yeah, I agree. I grabbed this one because Devonta Smith is a known asset, and in running back terms, he's an injury away, right? But it's got to be the injury. A.J. Brown's got to get hurt for Devonta Smith to unlock because of Saquon. Now,
right.
I would say
it's volume.
I guess there's 2 injuries there. Yeah, it would be Saquon or A.J. Brown one for sure. Like I think Devonta Smith is so good that if A.J. Brown got hurt, he'd be able to step right in and be the number 1 target earner on the offense and be just fine doing it. But you got the quarterback runs in touchdowns. Saquon just had an MVP level running back season, and what's changed? Nothing. Nope. The pressure's off.
What's changed is that the guy who just came in and put your offense back together like Humpty Dumpty left. And now you're on your like 3rd coordinator, 4th coordinator, and like so we don't even know how that's going to work. And maybe that just means that maybe Devonta Smith will get peppered in this new frame of this offense. But we've seen the fluctuation of this Eagles offense. Now Saquon Barkley, I think, can be the constant. It's mostly just a volume thing for me.
And I think
it has not. If you said Devonta Smith was in an offense with Patrick Mahomes, then and it's not even about the quarterback.
Right.
It's about the volume of passes.
Right, like Chev was talking about the Hurts threw less than 400 balls last year.
Right. I don't think he's throwing more than 400 this year.
Exactly. The Eagles don't need him to. They don't want him to, and they don't need him to.
And meanwhile, Ricky just got a huge upgrade. So like,
and
Ricky,
1.6 is very valuable.
106, I would trade straight up for Devonta Smith.
Boom.
And then
you're crushing the Ricky side.
Ricky side's free almost at that point. And he's moving into a role, and then Ricky doesn't even need to see the field for you this year to probably then turn an extra profit on the Ricky side.
I like it. You want to go to Lamar? Skip want to go to Lamar?
Achane or the 106. Achane or the 106. I think I'll take Achane.
Achane.
Yeah,
Yep.
taking Achane.
All right.
What was the next one?
Lamar Jackson, 161929.
Lamar Jackson.
Not enough for Lamar. Yeah, I'll take Lamar.
Lamar Jackson. Super flex, of course.
Obviously.
But the 106, the 109, and the 209 for Lamar Jackson. Now, again, how quickly things change. 2 years ago,
Coming off injury. Lamar was kicked to the curb.
First year in Monken's offense. Now we're going into year 3 of Monken here. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it year?
This is year 3.
Yeah. And I think we saw a nice increase in year over year. I think Lamar's continuing to hone it in and get better and better. The connection with him and Zay should get better. Likely should see more run out there, and we'll see where they go. But Bateman looks good. They brought in D-Hop.
Yeah, I know we got to speed it up, but what you just said was the year-over-year ascension for Lamar in his second year of his offense last year. He got the MVP 2 years ago, and Josh Allen didn't get it because Lamar was so awesome, and he kind of came back from injury. And I'm not saying he didn't earn it, but I think Josh Allen was the MVP 2 years ago. Well, they gave it to Lamar, and he had it 2 times. So this year, when Lamar takes it 2 notches up and slays, they're like, well, dang, he's got 2 already, and we need to get Josh 1. And Josh got 1, and everybody's all up in arms. Like, can't believe it wasn't Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson. Yes, Lamar Jackson was the MVP last year, for sure. But that was a makeup call because Josh Allen could have easily been the MVP the year before.
Yeah, I like it. Let's we got the 107 here. 107 move back to 110, 305. Probably sticking with the 107 there.
Yep, I'll take. It's going to take more than 3.5 to make me back up from 107 to 110.
107, 3-1 for AJ Brown.
107 and 3-1 for AJ Brown. I'll take AJ Brown.
It seems like you should still take AJ Brown. I know we just talked some shit about Devonta Smith in that offense.
Yeah, you definitely should still take AJ Brown.
Yeah, it's a lot closer for me than I think. I'm leaning the other way, but I think you're right.
It's AJ. Yeah, it's AJ Brown.
It's AJ Brown. Okay.
There's just no question about how good he is at all. Like, you could mess that pick up easily, and we don't want to mess it up. I got to take AJ Brown there.
Yeah. Lad McConkey and the 108 for Neighbors. It's got to be Neighbors.
It's all day. It's Neighbors all day, and what a great way to go from Lad to something tier up. Like, you're not going down from Neighbors for Lad and 1.8, but you're taking Lad and 1.8 to go get Neighbors. That's a great trade for the Neighbors guy. Give him the 2.8. Give him the 3.8 too. Great job getting Neighbors.
Yeah, but that's a good example of, and it's not against Lad, and obviously I think a lot of people would say you're not getting that deal done, but like
here's the thing, exactly, like you might not get a deal done, but like it happened and it could easily happen. That's a good looking trade, but like Lad could crush it, and Lad could score as many points this year as Neighbors for the most part. Lad could have. The Chargers could have a nice little increase, and the Giants are still trying to figure this quarterback situation out. Like, they could have Danny DeVito throwing them passes, right? Like, this could be a problem, right? So, but Neighbors is the closest thing we have to being like Jamar Chase, right? And what did we say? What did we see in that trade package for Chase? Is Neighbors Chase right now? No, but Chase wasn't that Chase either after one. As bad as awesome as Chase was after 1 year, he wasn't what he was last year. Mm-hmm. Triple Crown winner. He easily could have been the MVP if he played quarterback, but obviously you're not catching that many passes if you play quarterback because that would be cheating. Malik Neighbors all day.
Yeah. This is the 108, the 105, and a 26 third for Bijan. That's Bijan. All right, 109 for Chase Brown.
Here we go. I picked this one for this time of the year. Like right this second, I don't blame you if you want to take 1.9. There's a lot of question marks about what's going on in the draft. I'm a big believer that the Bengals cannot afford to take these picks that people are projecting to be top 30 visit to this guy, top 30 visit to this running back. Like, the Bengals just wrote huge checks to quarterback, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, tight end 1. Huge checks to all those guys. Maybe not a huge check to Gesicki, but the same. Like, they spent a whole bunch of money. You're not going to go from the annually the lowest spending team. The Bengals and the Raiders spend the least amount of money every year. They don't want to spend the money. They want to write the checks. It's not news. you're not going to just write all that money. I mean, literally, Joe Burrow was like, "This is what you got to do.
Right.
This is what I want to have happen." The two
Remember Carson Palmer?
Right. The two wide receivers joined together and got the same agent. Like they orchestrated this thing. Well played, guys. They don't have any luxury to go out and take a second or third round pick running back. If they do, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Chase Brown is the best running back on the Bengals after the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Says Big Co.
Yeah, I agree. It would be malpractice to go any other way for them. Like there's no reason to. If you want to draft one in the 5th or 6th round, that's a different body. You get off of Moss, you save yourself. You go from $3 million or whatever it is to $250,000.
Exactly.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but like anything else is pretty silly. And if that guy comes in and supplants Chase Brown, what
pie in my face?
Right. What could you do?
Well, he still was a freaking like top 5 RB second half of the season.
Right. So I just
pie in the Bengals' face if they let somebody come in and take work from that guy. There's no way Joe Burrow is going to be like, yeah, take that guy off the field that helped us be awesome. There's no chance.
Yeah, and I know there's some top 30 visits from Henderson and Judkins. Like they're both in Ohio. Like those guys went to Ohio. So it might just be like hey, you guys are here. Why don't you come over if you're around? Also, could be smokescreen. There's no reason for them boys to be doing any of that. So
yeah, and it's homework too.
Right.
Like, what happens if one of them slides farther than they should, and all of a sudden the Bengals are on a pick, or there's trades made? Like, if the guy's 30 minutes down the road, why not bust him in here for a top 30 visit just in case if things are flying all over the place in the draft?
You do only get so many visits though, so it is kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, but no, if you go look at him, nobody's even really like most, at least from what I just looked at.
Quinshon's not maxed out.
Doesn't look like anybody's really maxed out, and
Right.
there's a lot like who's the Ravens GM?
Howie? No, that's the Eagles.
Dick,
The new Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah, the new Ozzie Newsome.
Anyway, he basically said they pretty much never draft anybody they bring in for a top 30.
Nice. Yeah, it's all smoke screens.
Right.
Eric DeCosta.
DeCosta, yeah, there you go.
All right. 110, 410, Kyren.
1 point tight end premium in this one, just to point out there. So that brings Colston Loveland right up into play as well and makes those picks just that much more valuable. I might be leaning 110 here.
Because, Kyron's on his last year, I believe, with the Rams here. I can't imagine the Rams are going to roll out a big checkbook. Although, maybe he doesn't get high-end running. Maybe he gets decent running back money, stays around in the Rams.
Maybe it gives them a little deal.
Also, as well as how much longer is Stafford there and commanding a big salary, and maybe they go younger quarterback with more cap room to spread around because eventually they're going to have to make that move.
Well, and maybe they're like, hey, we just crushed it on these draft picks for our defense. And so we got studs that we're not paying like we have to pay them yet. They don't like they got the opposite of the quarterback. They got a couple of massive studs on defense that they are in their brand. They were rookies last year. Jared Verse and his partner from Florida State or whatever it was. Like both of those guys coming in their second year, they can't demand any more money for the next 24 months.
I'll say this. I think the player that you can get at 110 in this draft is very solid, and you could swap it out for Kyren. And I don't really have much of a problem with that. You won the lottery over the last 2-3 years with Kyren.
You won it, yep.
But I think Kyren's going to come right back and do exactly what Kyren did for the last 2 years and be a top 10 running back and get volume and crush with the volume. And you could probably get a first-round pick kind of whenever you want this season for Kyren Williams. So I'm going to stick with Kyren there.
I like it.
Discussing an extension.
All right, let's see here. We got the 110 and the 204 and Bucky Irving for Drake May and Jalen Waddle. That's a lot to digest.
That is, but I got to take the Drake May side. Bucky Irvin's valuable. Drake May's not in the second round of a startup, I don't think. Is he, Jay? He should be if he's not. And then you got the underappreciated Waddle. There's a lot. Bucky Irvin and some bullets.
210.
Bucky Irvin and 110.
Bucky
Irvin plus 110 plus 204 or Drake May and Waddle. The Bucky Irvin side looks really good on paper, but I'm gonna take my chances with Drake May and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
that's a good move off of Bucky trade. Like you really just tiered up in safety of asset allocation right there. Like Drake May's not going anywhere anytime soon as far as his value, but up. Maybe he has a sophomore slumpy type season, and maybe next year he's a third or fourth round draft pick. But like, and again, Bucky Irvin looking all kind of Shady McCoy Jr. out there last year. I love Bucky Irvin, but this is You bought him for here. He shot up to here. And I'm not going to say he's an X round draft pick. I don't care what draft where he got drafted, and what he did in the combine. Bucky was awesome. Let's not pretend like it just you can go from Bucky and some bullets, 110 and 2.4. Those are bullets, but we're basically putting hardly any value on Jalen Waddle these days. He's a beast. It just obviously nothing went right for them in Miami last year, but I think you're not going to get too many chances to get Drake May on your team. And this is a good way to do it.
No, I'm mostly with you there. All right, Jordan Love or 110 and 112. Jordan Love. And this is like a great contender move here.
Right.
I got some back end draft picks. Those picks are going to be fun. We've talked about it a million times. They're going to be good picks. And maybe you can get Shador Sanders here, and it's half point tight end premium. Maybe you can get Loveland. Maybe you can get Burden. Maybe you can get Shador and Dart. I don't know, but I'm going to take Jordan Love in this situation, and I think this is a really good move to make if you're on the back end of maybe Love's even your QB3 at that point as a contender, and you got like Stafford as your 2 right now. You know what I mean?
No, that's perfect. Like, and that's when we've moved all the way down through the end of the first round now, and you got the 110, 111, 112 type picks. Like you said, you're a contender. You might have lost in the championship game last year. You might be the 112 guy. You might be the 110, 111. Like, if I got 110, I'll take my 110 and my first round pick next year and throw it to Jordan Love. If I got 111, I'll take my 111 and my first round pick next year and throw it at Jordan Love. If I got the 112, my 12 and my 1 next year, all these picks in the back here, add your first next year, throw it at Jordan Love. If you play for the first round pick, think about that dynamic before you make that trade, because you could easily miss the playoffs and have a bad year and win the 1-1 or whatever. But like if you're a really good team, and like you would really take a lot of bad luck and a slew of injuries to keep you from making the playoffs. So you're probably giving away the 1-7 at worst or at best. If you have a bad year, you're probably giving away. There's a ton of 1-7 teams out there. You're like, man, I was so close. Right. There's a whole bunch of 1-7 teams out there.
I got 1 or 2 of those.
Me too.
I got 1 or 2 of those. All right, and I think this goes kind of right for the next guy, and we got a couple more trades. We'll go as fast as we can get out of here. Michael Penix, Rashad White, Christian Watson, and the 110.
Penix.
It's Penix, but I'll trade the 110 and some stuff, some change to get into that kind of quarterback range, and especially like a guy like Michael Penix is.
Can you read that again? Is Michael Penix for all those other assets?
Michael Penix for Rashad White, Christian Watson, and 110. So 110, a hurt Christian Watson, and a dead Rashad White, which
maybe not dead, but die. But yeah,
I'll take Penix. I think Rashad White's one of the best receiving backs in the league.
Yeah, but that whole 5th round startup value last year didn't go well for you. That's why we were telling you not to do it. All right, next.
But Penix, baby, it's just kind of the same theory of Love, just trying to get another quarterback. 112, 212, 312, and a 26-2 for the 103.
Same trade I was talking about earlier when we saw something with the 104, and I was like, if I had the 112, I'd be giving those for the 1-4. So yeah, I will take the 1-3 if that's where you are. If your favorite player just got taken at 1-2, that changes some things. But those top 3 guys, those top 3 or 4 guys. I mean, your chances of grabbing something that's worth more than the 112. I mean, 212 could be great. I haven't seen a draft board yet where Bucky Irvin was taken before 212 last year, right? I haven't seen him drafted in any second round picks, any second round rookie pick screenshot last year yet. It was all 3rd round or later.
Yeah.
So who knows what you're going to get with your 212 and 312.
Right.
But I would have no problem giving those picks away to get up to the 1-3.
Yeah, no,
I would say most times, often the 1-3 guy's going to say no to that.
Most likely, but if I can get in there, I probably could even trade back to the 108 and get half that back.
Exactly.
All right, Cedric Tillman, Mark Andrews, 112. Probably sticking with the 112 there. I think I'm the only person who puts as much value on Cedric Tillman. So
yeah, that's a good trade. I wanted to pull that out there to see what you'd say because I knew you were a Tillman guy. But I think straight up value wise, right now it's 112, and I can only hope that after a couple weeks, Tillman makes us regret that.
And then, this is a good one. 111, 112, Mike Evans. So you're getting old in there. You're moving your last 2 picks for Rome Odunze. I'll take the Rome Odunze side in this one.
Yeah, same.
You got to lay that trade out better. Yeah, if you're listening on the podcast, I'll be like, what is that trade?
Okay.
Because I don't know what you're giving for what.
Mike Evans, the 111, the 112.
It sounded like you're giving up the 111 and 112 to get Mike Evans. That's what I was thinking at first.
Gotcha. So he's getting Rome Odunze, and he's giving up the 111 and the 112 and Mike Evans. If I'm making this trade and I'm going after Rome, and if I'm a contender at all, I'm going to say, hey, let me try to figure out a way to keep Mike Evans, because at this point, obviously, he's super old, but he's playing still like a Hall of Famer. And him and Baker have something special. And so we already did this 2 years ago. I gave away Mike Evans for cheap, right? And he just made me pay for it with 2 All-Pro seasons. We gave him away for like 2.7 or something because nobody would give us anything for him, right? We on a team that all 3 of us have together. And so like at this point, like I'm not trading away Mike Evans if he's helping me win anything, because he's absolutely ridiculously good, and he might play for 2 more years at a level that you can't really get compensatory a line of value there, so like 111 and 112, that should be super close enough to get you Rome. And I'd much rather give you like, a third and a third spread it out over the next couple of years and try to just keep Mike Evans if my team is any good at all. If not, then you can have Mike Evans.
Yeah, right. I mean, basically, just like you said, nobody ever puts any value on Mike Evans. So if that's what's going to put me over the edge to get the deal done,
sure. But the reason I brought it up is because this is the 111 and 112. So if one of these picks is yours, you were in the championship. You either won it or you got second place.
Right.
And if you're good enough to get back there, first of all, one of the reasons you might be there is because Mike Evans.
Sure.
Sure.
All right.
We need to cut it out.
Well, you got 3 trades up here that are kind of fun to end it. It's 112 for Chris Godwin. It's Garrett Wilson for 112 and 111, and it's Justin Fields for 112.
Quarterback.
They're all super flex.
Just for the listener, one more time, if we're talking about quarterback.
Every trade in here has been super flex.
I know.
And they're all tight end premium. 2 of them are 1 point tight end premium. I would make those trades. I'll take the Godwin trade because, like, using the logic of if 112 is your pick, I'll take Godwin on the team.
Okay.
No problem, right? We talk about having a special connection. Last year, Godwin and Mike Evans might have got a second life because of Chris Godwin injury, right? Garrett Wilson, 112, 111, easy money.
Garrett Wilson all day.
Garrett Wilson. And then the Justin Fields 112 is it's worth it points wise, but is it worth it like long term wise? If I just not sure he. How long is he going to be the starter for, and when's the next time he is a starter?
Definitely. So Garrett Wilson all day. If you're good and you happen to have, and that's your 112, I can understand taking Godwin. If you're not good and you just have 112, I can understand giving Godwin away to get the 112, and you can re-roll that into a rookie pick because that's about even value. So I like that trade. That's why I put it up here too. Justin Fields for 112, like Chev gave us a ridiculously good stat. Almost like 40% of the time in the last 25 starts and he's made an NFL, he was a top 5 dynasty quarterback that week or fantasy quarterback that week. So almost half the times he was top 5, not QB1 as in like top 12, top 5, like game winning, week winning type quarterback points. So hard to turn that down in a 2 quarterback league. If for some reason, dude, he was 5-2 as a starter. Like that's the only, like Steelers could have left him in or brought, there's no denying that when Russell Wilson came in there for 2 weeks, there was an uptick in passing. There's no denying that all of a sudden George Pickens was unstoppable. Outside of a couple bad flags, he had 2 more touchdowns were called back. Pickens was. So, but then there's no denying that after 2, 3, or 4 weeks and the defense has got some tape on it and they're like, this is what Russell's doing. Let's take this away. And he made it look terrible. The Steelers should have gone back to Fields. And it's maybe it's hard to do that. And I can't put myself in those shoes right then. But like 5-2 as a starter, he could have easily taken him to.
I think the problem was that they weren't scoring any points with Fields.
I know, but they won the games.
Right.
But so and that what I'm saying is the Jets hadn't done any winning in a long time.
Right.
If all of a Justin Fields points or not, the defense had a terrible year. They were supposed to, like 12 months ago, the Jets were like the best team on paper, right? They had the most talent on the roster. Like 12 months ago, all we heard was how good the Jets roster was, and they were Aaron Rodgers away. And how good the defense was last year, the year before when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Aaron Rodgers goes down.
So dysfunctional.
It's just crazy how the wheels came off. So I would probably just want to just have the 112. But if you want to put Justin Fields in your lineup and light that firecracker, I'm not
that's
going to
what I'm
argue.
saying. Like points wise, it's worth it. But
If he gets 2 years, if he starts, what are we playing? 18 games now, so it's 36. If he starts 30 out of 36 games, I'll take. You can have my 112. I'll put Fields in my lineup. But you just no way to know that right now.
Right. I mean, they could. I mean, they shouldn't, but they could take a quarterback at whatever they are, 7.
You gotta get the 112.
112, just ring the
Fields
register.
into a first because he
Ring the
got
register.
signed as a starter right now.
Well, it's just
It's the best way to play it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, right. That's most likely what you should do if you're a good competitive team and you're built to crush. Like I got a team right now that if you that's auction, so it's a little different. But if it was built that way, and the team that I have currently and was like, hey, I'll trade you the 112 right now, and you give me Fields, I'd take Fields on the team.
I'm in the same league, and I just won a championship, and I got quarterback problems, and I got a filthy starting lineup. I'm not near as deep as you are, but I feel like the same way. If it was an auction, I could give my 112 away, stick Fields in my lineup this year, and I'm hard to beat.
Right.
But to Jay's point,
that's the
24 months from now, he's probably worth less than that 112, and that's a safe bet.
Yes.
Got to keep them picks in the auction though.
Oh yeah,
Not even close.
Strong rookie.
You got to
draft
in auction.
format.
Those draft picks are worth double.
Yeah, 100%.
Because everyone's gonna fuck it up.
100%. It's I got Chase Brown in that league, and I wouldn't move off him for a first in an auction right now because I'm already set up with 2 firsts, extra second, 3 thirds. Like Chase Brown could be the ticket in that situation to me getting Jeanty, right? So that's how the difference in an auction setup between the stake setup is like. Just because you're going to throw first round picks doesn't mean you're going to be able to get into the 1-1. If I have enough cash, there's nothing you could fucking do about it.
Exactly.
So, all right, let's wrap this up. Appreciate you guys. Draft's coming soon. Be sure to keep it locked and loaded. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. 5-star review if you're listening on the pod. Like all you got to do is click 5 stars. Like
good thing we ain't got 5 more minutes. That voice wouldn't make it, bro.
It's going out quick.
You're running out of gas. You're rolling to the finish line.
We've got a disproportionate amount of listeners to 5 stars, so let's tighten that up.
And on YouTube, subbies to not subbies watching. I mean, come on.
Let's
hit
do
that
this
subby
thing.
button.
What are you doing for it? Grab that net, catch that beautiful butterfly. All right, if you want more of us, go over to the Patreon, $5 high. There's a free Discord. Our ADP's over there. We got updated Dynasty rankings coming real soon here. We're kind of waiting to throw them out until after the draft at this point. We got rookie rankings. We'll have some rookie pages for your pleasure with all sorts of good stats and information. So make sure you go check that out if you want. And extra episode at least every week. Until next time. Peace.